Hey guys, Mr. Senior, let's get started with the next lesson for this week. So what we're going to be doing this week, or for this lesson, is we're going to calculate some simple interest. All right, so today I can solve simple interest problems. So interest is calculating the extra amount of money that's going to be put on a loan, right? So it could be something that's on a loan, whether that's something that you're borrowing. It could also be money that you make. Okay, so interest isn't always a negative thing. It can also be a very positive thing. So interest itself is an amount that's earned or owed when money is borrowed or invested. So if I borrow money, then I'm probably gonna have to go pay some extra back, right, for that extra like fee and service. Or I could be investing money and the interest is going to allow me to make more money than I had before. Your principal amount is that original amount of money that is borrowed or invested. And then the rate is the percent that is charged for borrowing or investing money. So it's that percentage that you're going to get back or the percentage you're going to have to pay. And then the time is the amount of time that the money is borrowed or invested. This is in years. Okay, so no matter how many years it is, that's going to be your time. So if you look at this example, Jan borrowed $500 on her credit card to buy a TV. She'll be charged 10% to borrow money. If she takes 1 year to repay it, how much money will she pay in interest? So that interest is what we don't know. We're going to leave that as the variable I. 500 was that principal because that's how much she borrowed. That's that principal amount. 10 cents, or I'm sorry, 10% is 0.10. That's that rate. And then the time was 1 in years. After you multiply those out, you get $50 in interest. So each of these different components of this interest formula, which if I move my face a little bit, you can see the whole thing. I equals P times R times T. So interest is equal to the principal times your rate times your time, and that will give you that. All right, so let's get started with the problem here. So we know Jan borrowed $300 at 15% simple interest for 1 year. If she makes no payments that year, how much interest will she owe at the end of the year? So I need to know a couple of things. I need to know my interest. I need to know my principal. I need to know my rate and my time. So the first thing it tells me, she borrowed $300. If she borrows $300, $300 was that principal amount. That is the amount I borrowed. 15% simple interest, that is my rate because it's a percentage, which we'll write as a decimal of 0.15. And we know our time now is 1 year. This is being done over the course of a year. Interest, we still don't know. If she makes no payments that year, how much interest will she owe at the end of the year? We're going to use our formula. I, which we don't know, is equal to P times R times T. So I'm plugging in my principal, my rate, and my time, and I will go multiply these out. I'll do 300 times 0.15 times 1, and I get 45. So I is equal to 45. So if we can put this in perspective a little bit, she will owe $45 in interest. I'm just going to add that dollar sign there so we know our answer. So go ahead and pause your video. I'm going to need you to work out the one on the right. And what you should have here is you would get an interest of $108. Okay, so we just plug everything in, multiply it out, and get $108. All right, so moving on here. So Joe borrowed $650 from the bank. So we're borrowing money here. The interest rate was 6%, and he didn't pay it back for 4 years. What was the total amount he will owe the bank? So we're going to tackle this one the same way. I need to know my interest, I need to know my principal, I need to know my rate, and I need to know my time. So he borrowed $650. Borrowing money, that's that principal amount, that's the amount he borrowed. The interest rate was 6%. I'm going to put this as a decimal of 0.06. And then also we have 4 years for our time. Once again, I don't know the interest. So let's go solve for the interest. I need to know all this information. So I is equal to 650 times 0.06 times 4. Plug all this into my calculator. 650 times 0.06 times 4 is equal to 156. So my interest is equal to 156. However, this is not what the question's asking me. The question wants to know, what is the total amount he's going to owe the bank? That total amount is going to be that principal, because you have to pay what you borrowed back, plus that interest that you owe. So whenever we want a total, we need to take the principal amount that we either borrowed or started with, and then add that interest, because we're either going to have to pay all of that back or we're going to be receiving that depending on what the situation is here. So to solve this, I'm going to take my 650 because that was my principal. I'm going to go on and I'm going to add the interest that I have to pay. So Joe would have to pay this much money, 650 plus the 156 would come out to $806 that Joe would have to pay. So not only is he paying that $650 he borrowed, he also has to pay that $156 in interest for a grand total of $806. So go ahead and pause your video again, and you're going to work on the one on the right. Make sure you're finding your interest because the question is asking for that, as well as how much total he will have at the end. So here's what you should have. First, you need to find the interest, which is $252. You're going to go then plug that in and add it to your principal amount for a grand total of $1,652. All right, so our last variation for today, and then you're going to be able to tackle this independent practice on your own. So we have Mr. Senior open a CD at a bank. A CD is like an investment thing that you could do. The CD earns 5% interest over the course of 9 months when the CD expires. So once again, I'm going to need some information. I'm just going to kind of work over here. That way I have more room. So I need to know the interest, I need to know the principal, I need to know the rate, and I need to know the time. So 5% interest, which is my rate, 5%, 0.05, over the course of 9 months. 9 months. I know my time is in years, but I know 9 months isn't a full year. So how am I going to put this? So let me think. I know there are 12 months in a year, and right now it's telling me about months. I know there are 12 total months in a year, and I have to worry about 9 of them, so I'm going to be writing that as a fraction of 9/12. So my denominator is going to be the total months in the year. The numerator is going to be the months that I'm actually having to work with. So in this case, it's 9. If Mr. Senior puts $1,230 into the CD, into that account, how much will he have when it expires? So the first thing I need to do is find out how much interest I'm getting. I don't know this. How much interest will I be getting? And then I'm going to need to go and add that up and find the total as well. So interest is equal to principal times your rate times the time, which is 9/12. Okay, so to make this easier, you could make that 9/12 into a decimal, or you can make everything else into a fraction. That is up to you. For me, I know 9/12. If I do 9 divided by 12, it's the same as 0.75. So I can multiply all of these together to get my answer. So 0.75 times 0.05 times 1,230 is equal to 46.125. So first I see that this is a little weird because it doesn't look like money, so I'm going to need to round because we're working with money. Money we know goes to the hundreds place, so this is going to end up being 46.13. So the next thing I need to do to find that total, I'm going to work back over here underneath the original problem. I'm going to take my principal amount, so your total is equal to your principal amount plus your interest. Principal amount of $1,230 plus $46.13 in interest. I'm going to add all of this up. For a grand total of $1,276.13. So go ahead and pause your video. You're going to do the one on the right. And here's what we should have. So the first thing was to find the interest. Then we need to go and add that to our principal amount, and it'll give us our new total. So this is the last variation I had for you guys. So one thing to remember with interest, right? Interest can be very good. It can also be very bad. So for understanding how this works, it's going to help us either save money in the long run or also make good investments to make more money when we're older and we have our own accounts and things like that. Okay, so it's something very important to understand. It can help you make good choices, but it can also cost you a lot of money if we don't understand this. So work this out. If you have questions, as always, join a tutorial, and we hope to see you in our live session.